Dr. Sarah Chun had been monitoring deep space signals for 15 years, but nothing had prepared her for what appeared on her screens at 3:47 a.m. on a cold Tuesday morning. The Arecibo successor facility in Puerto Rico hummed with its usual electronic symphony, but the pattern emerging from the quantum receivers was unlike anything in the databases. "Marcus, get over here," she called to her colleague, her voice tight with excitement and concern. "You need to see this." Dr. Marcus Webb rolled his chair across the control room floor, coffee mug in hand. He'd been tracking solar flare activity, routine work that suddenly seemed trivial. "What have you got, Sarah?" The signal displayed on her monitor pulsed with mathematical precision. Not the random cosmic background radiation they usually cataloged, not the predictable emissions from known pulsars. This was structured, intentional, and broadcasting across multiple frequencies simultaneously. "It's been transmitting for the past 47 minutes, Sarah explained, her fingers dancing across the keyboard to isolate different components. "Look at the complexity. Mathematical constants, prime number sequences, and something else. Something that looks almost like coordinates." Marcus finished, leaning closer to the screen. His coffee grew cold as he absorbed the implications. "Sarah, this isn't natural. Someone's trying to communicate." The facility's night skeleton crew gathered around their workstation as word spread. Dr. Elizabeth Reeves, the facility director, arrived within 20 minutes, still wearing her pajamas under a hastily thrown-on lab coat. "Have we verified the source?" she demanded, immediately taking charge of the situation. "Deep space, approximately 47 light-years out," Marcus reported, consulting his calculations. "The signal's been traveling for decades, but it's just now reaching us with enough clarity to decode." Sarah's hands trembled slightly as she highlighted different segments of the transmission. "There's more, Director. The mathematical sequences aren't just communication protocols. They're warnings." The room fell silent except for the constant electronic humming of the equipment. On the main display, the alien signal continued its relentless broadcast, each pulse carrying information that would change everything humanity thought it knew about its place in the universe. "Warnings about what?" Director Reeves asked, though her expression suggested she wasn't certain she wanted to know the answer. "That's what we're trying to figure out," Sarah replied, pulling up additional analysis windows. "But based on the pattern structure and the recurring mathematical themes, it appears to be some kind of alert system. A cosmic emergency broadcast." Over the next 6 hours, as dawn broke over Puerto Rico, the team worked frantically to decode more of the transmission. They called in specialists from around the world via secure video links. Linguists, mathematicians, and xenobiologists all contributed to the growing understanding of what they discovered. Dr. Yuki Tanaka from Tokyo's Institute for Advanced Physics was among the first to grasp the signal's true nature. "The mathematical progressions aren't random," she explained through the video connection, her usually calm demeanor replaced by visible agitation. "They're describing orbital mechanics, gravitational interactions, and something else. Something moving." "Moving how?" Director Reeves pressed. "Fast, Dr. Tanaka replied. "Faster than anything we currently understand to be possible. And it's not just one object. The calculations suggest a fleet or swarm of some kind." Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. She'd spent her entire career hoping to find evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence. Now that she had, every instinct screamed that this wasn't the benevolent first contact scenario that optimistic scientists had always envisioned. The signal source had identified itself through embedded stellar cartography. The transmitting civilization inhabited a system 47 light-years away, a fact that should have provided some comfort. Even if hostile intentions were involved, the vast distances of space served as an effective barrier. That comfort evaporated when Dr. Chun made her next discovery. "The transmission isn't just a warning," she announced to the assembled team, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's a countdown." The mathematical sequences they'd been analyzing weren't just describing some distant threat. They were tracking something's approach toward Earth. something that had been traveling through space for the same 47 years the signal had been in transit. Marcus ran the calculations 3 times before accepting the results. If this data is accurate, whatever they're warning us about isn't coming from their system. It was already en route when they sent the signal. How long do we have? Director Reeves asked. Sarah checked her analysis one final time before answering. Based on the countdown progression and the velocity calculations embedded in the signal, approximately 72 hours. The room erupted in controlled chaos as the implications sank in. Phone calls were made to government agencies, military officials, and international space organizations. The signal that had begun as an exciting scientific discovery was rapidly becoming a global security crisis. But Sarah Chin wasn't finished with her analysis. As the others coordinated emergency response protocols, she continued digging deeper into the alien transmission. What she found in the signal's deepest layers would prove far more disturbing than a simple invasion warning. The aliens weren't trying to warn Earth about an attack. They were trying to warn Earth about what would happen when the attack arrived, about what would wake up, about what humanity would become when faced with an existential threat it couldn't possibly comprehend. The signal contained detailed biological scans, genetic analysis protocols, and psychological profiles, not of the incoming threat, but of humanity itself. Somehow, impossibly, the distant civilization had been studying Earth for longer than their signal had been traveling. They knew things about human nature that humans hadn't yet discovered about themselves. In the signal's final decoded segments, Sarah found the most chilling revelation of all. The approaching threat wasn't the real danger. The real danger was what it would unleash on Earth, what would force humanity to become in order to survive. The aliens had seen it happen before on other worlds to other species. They'd watched civilizations transform themselves in the face of impossible odds. They'd witnessed the terrible price of survival when peaceful societies were forced to become something else entirely. Sarah stared at the translated message glowing on her screen, its meaning crystal clear despite being composed by minds alien to human experience. The warning wasn't about monsters coming from space. The warning was about the monsters that were already here, sleeping in human DNA, waiting for the right stimulus to wake them up. 3 days later, when the first alien scout ships entered Earth's solar system, humanity would discover exactly what 47 years of evolution had been preparing them to become. The signal hadn't been a warning about invasion. It had been a warning about liberation. Dr. Sarah Chun closed her eyes and prepared to contact the President of the United States. In 72 hours, everything humanity thought it knew about itself would change forever. The signal had arrived right on schedule, carrying a message that would echo through history. The monsters weren't coming to Earth. They were already here, encoded in human genetics, refined by millions of years of survival evolution, and about to be awakened by the greatest threat their species had ever faced. The real question wasn't whether humanity could survive what was coming. The question was whether the galaxy could survive what humanity was about to become. Admiral Rebecca Martinez stood in the Pentagon's Crisis Command Center, watching satellite feeds that defied every assumption about interstellar travel. 72 hours after Dr. Chen's discovery, the first alien vessels had materialized at the edge of the solar system, moving at velocities that made Einstein's theories look quaint. "How many ships are we tracking?" she asked Lieutenant Colonel Hayes, her aide-de-camp. 47 confirmed contacts, ma'am. But they're not behaving like any invasion force in our tactical databases. Martinez studied the tactical display, her 30 years of military experience providing little guidance for the situation unfolding before her. The alien vessels weren't advancing toward Earth in standard attack formations. Instead, they were taking defensive positions around the outer planets, as if preparing for something else to arrive. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission," announced communications specialist Torres from his station. "It's coming from the lead alien vessel. Put it through." The main screen flickered, and suddenly, they were looking at something that would haunt human nightmares for generations to come. The alien wasn't hostile in appearance, quite the opposite. It looked almost fragile, with delicate features and large, intelligent eyes that conveyed an expression of profound sadness. "People of Earth," the alien began, speaking perfect English with an accent that seemed to shift between different human languages. "My name is Zeth Kaler, and I represent the Syndicate of 12 Worlds. We're not here as conquerors. We are here as witnesses." Admiral Martinez gestured for Torres to open a response channel. "This is Admiral Rebecca Martinez of the United Earth Defense Command. Why are you in our solar system?" Zeth Kaler's expression grew even more sorrowful. "Because in approximately 18 hours, the Devourers will arrive. And when they do, your species will face a choice that has confronted every sentient race in this galaxy. Transform or perish." "Who are these Devourers?" Martinez demanded. "An ancient machine intelligence that consumes civilizations," Zeth Kaler explained. "They were created billions of years ago by a species that sought to eliminate what they perceived as the chaos of organic life. The Devourers have been slowly working their way through the galaxy ever since, world by world, system by system." The Admiral felt her blood chill. "And you're here to help us fight them?" Zeth Kaler's silence stretched for long seconds before he responded. "No, Admiral Martinez. We are here to document what happens next. Your species carries genetic markers that we have only encountered in 3 other races. Markers that indicate potential for what we call the awakening." Dr. Chin's voice suddenly crackled through the communication system from the Puerto Rico facility, where she'd been monitoring the exchange. "The genetic scans in your original signal. You've been studying us for 300 of your years," Zeth Kaler confirmed. "Ever since our deep space probes detected the unique electromagnetic signature of human neural activity. Your species possesses something that 97% of intelligent life lacks." "Which is?" Admiral Martinez asked, though she suspected she didn't want to know the answer. "The capacity for controlled savagery," Zeth Kaler replied. "Most sentient species develop intelligence as an alternative to violence. Humans developed intelligence as a tool to make violence more effective. When threatened with extinction, most races accept their fate or flee. Humans become something else entirely." The alien's words hung in the air like a death sentence. Around the command center, military personnel exchanged glances that mixed pride with horror. Everything they'd been taught about human nature, about civilization's purpose in suppressing humanity's darker instincts, was being redefined in real time. Lieutenant Colonel Hayes cleared his throat. "What happened to the other 3 species with these markers?" "The Veltar became the galaxy's most feared mercenary race before their son died naturally. The Kethmori eliminated the Devourers in their local cluster, but destroyed 17 other civilizations in the process." "Zitsuhai." Zeth Kaler paused. "The Zuerhai transcended physical existence entirely after their awakening. We lost contact with them 4,000 years ago." Admiral Martinez felt the weight of species-level responsibility settling on her shoulders. "What exactly happens during this awakening?" "Human genetics contain dormant sequences that activate under specific stress conditions," Zeth Kaler explained. "Enhanced reflexes, increased cognitive processing speed, reduced empathy toward perceived threats, and, most significantly, the ability to coordinate lethal group tactics on an instinctual level. Your ancestors called it berserker rage, but that term inadequately describes the controlled, systematic efficiency your species demonstrates when truly threatened." The communication was interrupted by alerts from the outer system monitoring stations. Dozens of new contacts were appearing at the edge of sensor range, moving impossibly fast toward the inner solar system. "The Devourers have arrived," Zeth Kaler announced unnecessarily. "Admiral, I must inform you that standard military tactics will prove entirely ineffective against their technology. Their machines adapt to conventional weapons within minutes of first contact." On the tactical display, the approaching Devourer fleet dwarfed the alien observation vessels. Massive, geometric structures that seemed to bend light around them, moving with purpose and precision that spoke of technologies beyond human comprehension. "How do we fight them?" Martinez asked. You don't fight them, Admiral. You become what your species was always meant to be. The first Devourer scout reached Mars orbit in 3 hours, moving through space defenses like they didn't exist. Earth's most advanced missile systems registered direct hits, but caused no apparent damage. The machine intelligence didn't even seem to notice human weapons. But something was already changing on Earth itself. In military bases around the world, soldiers reported strange sensations: enhanced awareness, increased aggression, and an odd compulsion to form hunting packs rather than standard tactical units. Medical scanners detected widespread changes in brain chemistry, increased adrenaline production, and genetic expression patterns that had never been observed in human biology. Dr. Chun monitored the changes from her facility, watching in fascination and horror as humanity began its transformation. The stress response is triggering something in our DNA, she reported to Admiral Martinez. Something that's been dormant for our entire evolutionary history. Is it reversible? The Admiral asked. Unknown. But based on the data from Zeth Kaler's people, probably not. Whatever we're becoming, it appears to be permanent. The first ground engagement took place over the Pacific Ocean when a Devourer harvesting ship descended to begin extracting resources. Naval vessels responded with conventional weapons that proved as ineffective as the Mars defense systems. But when the crew of the USS Nebraska was cornered, something extraordinary happened. The sailors didn't retreat or panic. Instead, they coordinated with inhuman precision, using unconventional tactics that shouldn't have worked against advanced alien technology. They turned their ship into a projectile, ramming the Devourer vessel at precisely calculated angles while coordinating with aircraft to create a synchronized assault pattern. The Devourer's ship, which had shrugged off every conventional weapon, suffered significant damage from the coordinated suicide attack. More importantly, its adaptive systems seemed confused by the tactical approach, unable to predict or counter strategies that made no logical sense from a self-preservation standpoint. They did it, Admiral Martinez whispered, watching the tactical feeds. They actually damaged one. Zeth Kaler's voice returned to the communication system, tinged with what might have been admiration and fear in equal measure. The awakening has begun. Your species is now discovering what it means to be truly human. Around the globe, similar transformations were accelerating. Military units were reorganizing themselves into pack structures that maximize lethality while minimizing traditional command hierarchies. Civilians were displaying tactical awareness that rivaled professional soldiers, instinctively understanding how to coordinate ambushes and asymmetric warfare. Most disturbing of all, none of the transformed humans seemed particularly concerned about their own survival. They fought with the calm efficiency of apex predators, treating individual death as acceptable collateral in the service of species survival. Admiral, Dr. Chen's voice carried a note of awe and terror. I'm reading genetic activation patterns across every population center on Earth. Whatever's happening, it's not limited to military personnel. Martinez watched the tactical display as more Devourer ships entered Earth's atmosphere, only to face coordinated resistance from humans who fought like they'd been designed specifically for this kind of warfare. The aliens had been right about one thing. Humanity was transforming into something else entirely. The question was whether that transformation would save them or destroy everything they'd once valued about human civilization. In 18 hours, Admiral Martinez would have her answer. 18 hours after the first Devourer contact, Captain Elena Vasquez crouched in the ruins of downtown Los Angeles, leading a pack of transformed humans against an alien harvesting machine. Nothing in her Marine Corps training had prepared her for what she'd become, yet somehow every tactical decision felt as natural as breathing. The Devourer construct towered 40 feet above the rubble, its crystalline surfaces shifting and adapting as it cataloged human weapons and defensive strategies. Traditional military doctrine would have called for indirect fire support and coordinated withdrawal to prepared positions. Elena's pack had a different approach. Torres, flank left through the subway tunnels, she whispered in her throat mic, her voice carrying harmonics that hadn't existed in human vocal cords 12 hours earlier. Martinez, you're with me on the direct approach. Kowalski, fine elevation, and wait for my signal. Her team moved with inhuman coordination, each member instinctively understanding not just their own role, but how their actions would affect the pack's collective effectiveness. They communicated through micro-expressions, body language, and electromagnetic signatures that their transformed nervous systems could detect and interpret. The Devourer machine recognized the tactical maneuver and adapted its defensive protocols accordingly. Energy barriers manifested to block the flanking routes, and sensor arrays rotated to track the elevated sniper position. But the machine's programming had been designed to counter logical military tactics, not the controlled savagery that Elena's pack was demonstrating. Instead of retreating from the energy barriers, Torres triggered a controlled demolition of the subway tunnel, collapsing a section of street and dropping the Devourer machine 12 feet into unstable ground. In the same instant, Martinez activated a jury-rigged electromagnetic pulse device that shouldn't have been possible to construct with available materials. The pulse didn't disable the alien technology, but it created a brief window of sensor confusion. That was all Elena needed. She moved with speed that would have been impossible for unmodified humans, covering the distance to the machine in seconds while her nervous system processed tactical information faster than any computer. Her pack moved as extensions of her will, each member anticipating the other's actions with supernatural precision. The Devourer construct found itself under attack from angles its programming couldn't predict, using tactics that violated every known principle of self-preservation warfare. The humans fought like they were already dead, making sacrificial moves that created openings for devastating follow-up attacks. Elena's pack destroyed the harvesting machine in 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Similar scenes were playing out across every population center on Earth. Transformed humans demonstrated tactical capabilities that made professional military units look clumsy and predictable. They worked in groups that ranged from 3 to 12 individuals, optimizing their effectiveness based on local conditions and available resources. In New York City, a pack led by former accountant David Kim had eliminated 3 Devourer scouts using improvised weapons and tactics that seemed to blend urban warfare with pack hunting behaviors. In London, Dr. Rebecca Walsh had coordinated 17 separate civilian groups into a larger hunting formation that was systematically eliminating alien machines across 6 city districts. Admiral Martinez monitored the global situation from her bunker beneath the Pentagon, watching displays that showed human tactical effectiveness climbing exponentially with each passing hour. Casualty reports? She asked Lieutenant Colonel Hayes. 15% loss rate among transformed personnel, he replied. But they're achieving kill ratios of 8 to 1 against Devourer constructs. The number should have been cause for celebration, but Martinez felt only cold dread. The humans fighting topside weren't the same species that had existed 24 hours earlier. They moved, thought, and fought like something that evolution had spent millions of years preparing for this exact scenario. Dr. Chen's voice crackled through the communication system from her increasingly isolated research facility. Admiral, I'm reading unprecedented changes in human brain structure.